We're so welcome, so pleased to have all of you here attending today at our Norfolk, Pamona, Grange number 27 meeting for this day. And we are extremely fortunate to have a wonderful program. And I will introduce Suzanne Green so that she can introduce the participants and the demonstrators of our program. Thank you again for coming.
I want to take a moment to introduce our speakers for today. We have with us Sue Robinson and Amber Green, and both Sue and Amber are members of the Norfolk County Beekeepers Association. They are proud graduates of bee school, and if you know, a lot of people don't realize that you can go to school to learn about bees, but Norfolk County Beekeepers has a bee school, and they have been working together on a number of projects. This is Sue's second year of beekeeping and Amber's first. And Sue has been acting as Amber's mentor during the beekeeping process. So they've spent a lot of hours together doing a lot of different projects. So we're going to be having kind of an outline of what they're going to be covering over here, and then they've brought all kinds of great things to share with you. So today they're going to be talking about bee biology, learning a little bit about how bees operate, how they function, and what the hive is like. And we're going to take you on a journey, I think, what they affectionately refer to as a hive dive. That's what you guys are going to participate in today. So, Amber and Sue.
Okay, first off, we do not have any live bees with us today. With the temperatures are outside, you cannot bring bees out of their hive right now. They're partially hibernating, we call it clustering. So they stay in the hive. They stay in like a basketball type configuration, and what they do is they disconnect their wings and they vibrate their bodies in the wintertime to keep their temperature at around 92 degrees. So the bees on the outside, everybody will vibrate, and the bees on the outside, when they get cold, they'll move inside, and the bees on the inside will move out. So it's a collective. They continue to keep, one bee cannot live alone, they have to live in the colony. Amber.
One of the reasons, well, first of all, I'm really into insects, and bees were my first thing. I told my mom and dad, why don't we go to bee school? And they agreed, and that's how I was started. So, why should you keep honeybees? Well, number one reason is honey. Honey is medicinal, and it's really good. They're fascinating to watch. If you've ever seen an observation hive before, seen them in the hive, you can see how they function. You could join a local beekeeping organization like Norfolk County Beekeepers, and you can buy local honey from local beekeepers. Or you can visit what's called a hive dive, which is what we're going to do today a little bit. Look at inside the hive and the parts of it. It's kind of costly, but it's not really expensive because bees are so easy to keep. I would recommend starting with at least one hive, but I started with two, and my other one swarmed, so I only have one. It left, basically.
That happens.
The basic kind I have are Italian. Sue has Russians, but Russians are kind of...
I have both. I have 3 hives at my house. I have 2 hives of Italians and 1 hive of Russians. And the Russians were a little bit aggressive when I first got them, but they have calmed down a little bit now, and they don't attack me as much as they did.
And I have Italians, and they're really sweet. They're like, yes.
Are they actually from Italy?
No.
Are they sent over?
Well, they're bred in this country. Honeybees are not indigenous to this region. They did come from Europe originally. They were brought over by the monks. And the reason that they were brought over by the monks was not for mead, some might think, but to making candles. The monks brought them over 300, 400 years ago so that they could have candles. So they're a popular animal.
The work actually isn't that bad, but for me, I can remember one time I went into the hive and they attacked me.
That's why we have excellent equipment, which leads us to our excellent equipment. When I originally started, I started just with my bee veil and hood, my hat and veil, and I had, you need to wear white clothing, because if you wear dark clothing, bees do not like bears or skunks. They're enemies to the hive, so if you have something black on, they'll go right after it. You'll get stings. So all beekeepers generally wear white garments. So I started with my helmet and my veil, with white t-shirt, white long sleeve shirt, and my gloves. And the first day wasn't so good. I have actually did a book of my first day, and I'll pass it around. But it was a little bit cold out, so they were all attracted to me. And you can actually see them inside my veil. Yes, I was so excited that my bees came the first day. I didn't tie my veil on properly. So, well, for one hive, which has over 10,000 bees on it, I did sustain 2 stings. So I'm going to say, when I had a couple thousand on me at that point. So, that's not too bad.
My first time I had like 5 or 6 stings.
Did you?
Well, it's when they were honey bound.
Okay.
They were still.
That's when you really got zapped.
Yeah, they zapped me.
Okay.
Zapped me. Okay, this is the honeybee. Basic. Or not. If you look at the head, one characteristic is their eyes. Their eyes are compound, meaning they have 3 compound eyes and 2 simple eyes. They have little facets in them, like if you look through a glass and you see the, what was I going to say? I forgot.
That's okay.
Bevel?
Yes. Sort of. They have 2 antennae, which they use to feel around for where the honey is. And they have what's called proboscis, which is basically their tongue. That's what they use to slap up the honey. Their thorax, or their body, different honeybees have different colors. This is just a basic. But one characteristic is they're hairy. They're not as hairy as a bumblebee. Because if you know, a bumblebee has lots and lots of hair on it. So,
Honeybees also have hair on their eyes. Their whole body is covered in hair.
they have wings, obviously, to fly, but they're in 2 sets. And they have these sparkles, which are these breathing tubes, which help, basically, that's respiratory system. Their abdomen, surprisingly enough, that's where they have their reproductive and digestive organs, wax and scent glands, and also they have their stinger. Now, I'll get later on about the stinger part. They also have what's called a nasonophil gland. That's what they use as for pheromones, which the queen can use those to tell the other bees this is your hive.
A honeybee will only go to its original hive. The queen gives out a pheromone scent, and one honeybee from this hive will not go into the other hive unless they're going in to rob. They know their queen's scent, and they will go for that scent. If she's not in the hive, they get all discombobulated, but they will go after her pheromone scent.
After the fight. These are the 3 castes of a normal hive. The first one, obviously, is the queen, Her Majesty. She is the ruler of the hive. She has a stinger, but she won't use it unless if another queen tries to come into the hive, they'll fight to the death. And when one queen dies, they'll take the place. She produces up to, get this, 1,500 eggs a day or more. Then you have the little worker honeybee. They're the industrious ones. They are only sterile. They're sterile females, females only. So they won't reproduce. And they have pollen baskets on their legs to collect the honey. And they're really, really small. How small are they?
This is a worker bee, and you can see down below here she has pollen baskets on her legs. Amber and I will stand at the side of the hive, and we'll look and we'll watch the bees coming in, landing with pollen on their legs. It's really fascinating. They'll even do that on a warm winter day. They'll go out foraging, and they'll find something out there, and they'll come back with pollen in their pollen sacs.
Is today warm enough for them to go out?
Probably because it's raining out, they won't be out. 50 degrees is generally the temperature that they come out in the wintertime. They'll come out, do a cleansing flight, go look around, and then come on back to their hive.
And last but not least, there is the drones. They are the fat bees. They will not do anything but drink honey and make the queen. And surprisingly enough, they're already been kicked out of the hive because they're no longer needed.
In October, the worker bees know that the drone does nothing but eat the honey. So they will fight outside the hive in October, and they'll kick all the drones out, and unfortunately the drones will die off. But in the spring, the queen will lay some more drone eggs so that they have enough to reproduce. And the drone has big fat eyes, because they're just always looking for the
really
queen.
wrap
around eyes. They're big. You see them in the hive, and they're bigger than anything else. And you're always like, is that one? Is that the queen? Nope, that's a drone. So there's about 100 drones per hive. In a regular hive, there is 60,000 bees in the hive, one queen, about 100 drones, and the rest consists of workers.
Can you identify the queen?
Yes. The queen, some queens are marked.
Some are not.
Some are not. Mine is not marked.
Mine is not.
We have
marked.
one on the screen that's marked. The queen with a dot.
Yeah.
The queen has a different color abdomen. It almost looks like a grub. When you open up the hive and you look and you see this kind of queen going, she usually doesn't want to stay out in the light. She'll try and hide, but she is definitely. Once you find her, you can see her many times. Once you can recognize her, you find her. Mine is not marked, but what they do is they take a little ink and they put it right on the top of their back. And every year they switch colors. Last year was white. I don't know what this year is, but they mark if you buy a marked queen, it costs like $3 extra for a queen to be marked. So if you get a queen that's marked, they have a certain color each year, so that you know if that's the queen from last year or if it's a new queen.
There's a picture of a marked queen on the screen right here, so you can see on the far right.
I think I found it.
Yeah, she's on there.
This. Oh.
Right.
Parts of the bee.
That's okay. We can just take it apart and stop looking. Okay.
Yeah, we can work together on this.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Okay, we're going to look at the hive now. What I brought today is my Christmas present. Because like any loving bee people, that's all we want is bee equipment. So what I have here is, this is half a hive. It's a 5-frame hive. It's called a nuke. You can have a 10-frame hive, an 8-frame hive, or a 5-frame hive. I think this is just easy to carry around, so this is what I requested for Christmas. This is the top cover.
The outer cover.
The outer cover.
This is the inner cover. The hole here is so that bees can come in and out.
And it also has a ventilation hole, so bees can also come in here. They can get underneath the cover, and they'll come in, and they'll go right down into the hive. Now I reversed it just so it's a little bit easier for us to work on it today. But in the spring, summer, or fall, when we open up our hive, generally we open up the hive once a week, just to look to see what's going on. And usually there's a substance on the all around here. It's called propolis. It's called bee glue.
It's very sticky and it can be a pain in the butt.
And this is a brand new hive, so there is no propolis on here.
I have to drink.
It's very, very easy to operate. But what we do is we'll have to pry these frames out. And I brought a couple of frames that have wax in there. This is a drone cell frame. Bees get mites. Mites grow on drone cells because drone cells take longer to hatch. So these little comb is larger than the normal comb. This is smaller inside here. So the drone, it takes longer for a drone to hatch out, like 24 days?
I think so. I'm not
24
sure.
days for a drone. So the mites like that. They like to stay in as long as they can. They hatch out. And a mite is kind of like a tick. It sticks on it attaches onto the bee, and it will suck the blood out of it, and it causes the bee to succumb to illnesses and die off. So we try to prevent that. So there's a couple of things that we do. We treat once a year with formic acid. We put a formic acid pad on top of the hive to kill any mites that are in there. On a weekly basis, we'll take powdered sugar and just shake it on top of the hive, and it will fall down on the bees, and the bees will come out. They'll be like, what the heck are you doing? So they'll be flying around, and they're all white. They're just covered in sugar. And what happens is the mites cannot attach to the skin. It makes their pads slippery, so they fall down to the bottom of the hive and they die. So we want to prevent mites from attaching to the bees. So I have a drone cell right here, and this is actually a honey super. So what we did in the wintertime, or in the fall, is we scraped the wax cappings off of the comb. We just used this, and we just took all this out, and the cappings are all right here, and we'll melt this down in the summertime, and it will form a little wax bar. And then I can make candles with that. We can put it in soap. What else can we use wax for? Lotions.
Lip balm.
Lip balm, we have that. I make lip balm. Did you make any lip balm this year? No?
No.
So we have all kinds of things that we can use. I also brought an observation hive with me today. I normally, in the springtime, summer, or fall, I would bring bees with me. I didn't do that today. I just brought some wax and some honey in here. This is really heavy. And when you pick up a hive box that's full of frames like that, it's about 100 pounds. When it's filled with wax, with bees, with honey. Right now it's rather light. You can just throw it over your shoulder. Do you want me to pass this around? Anybody want to see this? So this is the frame. This is the frame before the bees build out the wax on it. It's just, this is a wax frame. And they'll build out, the wax comes from their glands underneath, and they'll start building and putting wax here, just like that. And the queen will start laying her eggs. And even if there's no foundation built out, she'll still lay eggs. If she's like ready to go, she'll just start laying eggs. There, you can just pass that around too. This is one of our tools that we use. When it's really hard, we'll just, pull it out like that. And of course, we are wearing our gloves and our gear because the bees would not like this. They'd be going crazy right now. Sometimes some of the beekeepers do an inspection like this. They'll lift up the box like this, and they'll look for a supersedure cell, a queen cell. Can I pass that around?
Yeah.
The bees will put an emergency queen cell on the bottom of the hive. It will just go like that. And if they feel that their queen is getting old or tired and they need to make a new one, or if she's just gone and she's died and left the hive, as long as they have eggs in the box, 3 days old, they can produce their own queen. So it's pretty cool. They will produce their own queen if they have. So what they'll do is they'll put an egg in there and they'll feed her royal jelly, and that's a little wax comb. You with me? All right, you want to take a turn?
No, I'm just not.
Did you want to show maybe if you can change up how you can dress up in a bee outfit so that you can
Absolutely.
see when you get dressed in?
Yep. You want to dress up? Okay, I'll put my jacket on.
Go inside. Get dressed up.
I got again, Santa Claus was good to me. And this is my bee jacket, my brand new bee jacket that I just got.
Oh, to put a tag.
Yeah. You guys have seen it for the first time. I think it works.
What is that? That's okay. Or he's hearing it. That's a queen that he doesn't. No, because she's a queen. She's good.
Okay, there we go.
That's where the queen's going to sit, so you might want to remember.
Now, they won't sting you through that
No, they
material.
won't sting through that. You can feel it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Kevlar? Yeah, Kevlar. Be Kevlar. Yeah, they won't sting you through that. Oh, no, that's right. Some beekeepers go with no gloves and no arms and stuff like that. He's probably a commercial beekeeper, and he's probably been doing this for about 25 years or something. And he probably doesn't even feel the stings. I still feel them. I still get swollen a little bit when I get stung, so I like to have protection on. Now, at this time of the year, the bees right now are resting for commercial beekeepers. Some of these commercial beekeepers have 5,000 hives, 10,000 hives, 40,000 hives. These guys are the ones that produce lots of honey. And their main industry is for pollinating the crops. 1/3 of every bite of food that you eat is pollinated by a honeybee. There you go, Amber. So honeybees are very, very crucial to the environment, to any kind of crops any kind of agriculture. I think they like your pink shoelaces. You look good. There we go. Yeah, so she's bomb-proof. Did you have all your equipment on when you get stung that day?
Yep.
Yes?
So I think I did.
Really?
She didn't have her veil zipped up.
The veil wasn't zipped up.
She had 5 bees inside her helmet.
If you're looking at my book, the first day that I became a beekeeper, when I first had my hive, I put on my hat and I didn't tie it nice and tight so they were poked. My helmet was like this. And of course I didn't know, I was just really excited, so I left an opening. And there were a good 20 bees buzzing around in my head, but I was okay, I was nice and calm. I took the hit, it was okay. So now I make sure that I'm all nice and tight and snug when I go out. I don't, it was okay for the first time, but I don't want to get stung, and they don't want to sting me. When they sting, they die. Their stinger drops off, so. And drones do not have stingers. So if anybody ever wanted to hold on to a bee that, if they were so inclined, we could give you a drone and you could hold on to it and it wouldn't sting you. It doesn't want to hurt you.
No.
Okay.
No, they won't hurt me at all. So they're too fat to sting. They're too fat to sting anybody.
So we've already done the inside of the hive a little bit. That's called bearding. When it gets very, very hot outside, if the hive is very, very hot, the bees will go outside and they'll hang all over the hive. They'll just be right on the hive, and they'll go outside and they'll flap their wings, and it brings air into the bottom of the hive. The air will come in through the bottom, and it will cool the hive. It will go right out the top, and it will cool the hive. That's a way for the bees. They have air conditioning. They automatically know when to air condition the hive.
It's their own natural.
And that also takes the moisture out of the nectar that they gather.
is when the bees, there's either no space left in the hive because there are too many bees, or there's not enough ventilation. Usually, when they start to swarm, they'll use up all their like emergency honey. And what the queen will do, she will take half of the attendants or half of the bees in the hive and just leave. Gone. So that's bad because when they're gone, that's the end of basically the hive.
It's not the whole hive will go, it will be half the hive.
Yeah,
So
half.
they'll have to build up more, the new queen will have to lay more eggs and they'll have to generate more new bees to populate the hive. If you see a swarm outside, generally what they do is they go up a tree. They'll go up a tree, they might go into an old building if they find a nice hole or something like that, and they'll build a hive where they can find it. If you see a hive, a swarm outside, there'll be like 1,000 bees flying all around. They'll go up on top of a tree branch and they'll rest, maybe for a day or so. You can actually take your hand without a suit on, put your hand right into the swarm, into the whole mass of bees. They won't hurt you. They're not defending their hive. They're just out there looking for a new home. They'll send scout bees out looking for someplace new that they can find a log of a tree or something like that they can start a new colony.
And a great way to capture the bees is this. This is a bee vacuum. What it basically is it's like a shop vac vacuum, but it has a hose that you can use. So you can put the hose on the branch and it will suck up all the bees. It's humane, don't worry.
They won't injure many bees in a vacuum.
No,
like that.
very
It's designed to suck the bees in, so humanely.
Now, yeah. One of the main things today that people have been main beekeeping topics is colony collapse disorder. This is a very serious matter when it beekeeping because it's basically when the whole hive dies off. There's like nobody left. One of the programs that was one of the beekeeping meetings was a movie called Being with the Bees, which was basically about what people thought it was, and what were the causes of it. And people were saying that they thought that it was a lot of different things, but they were doing studies, was it Germany?
Germany, they came up with a theory that cell phones were causing bees to abscond from their hive. But they've said that that's not actually the case. They've proven that wrong. They also are researching about mites causing, when they're sucking the blood out of the bees, that's causing problems with the bees and that's not bringing them back to the hive. They're also talking about chemicals that people put on their flowers, Roundup, pesticides, that's causing a lot of harm to honeybees. So as honeybee keepers, we don't like to use pesticides. We don't use any Roundup in our neighborhood, and if you see somebody that's doing it, we kind of try and sway them away from that. But also one of the other things with colony collapse disorder is when the commercial beekeepers load up their hives, you're talking 10,000 hives, they put them on a semi-trailer, they ship them all over the country. Right now the bees are resting, but in February they're going to start packing up all the bees and sending them all to California. California has almond crop, and it takes every commercial beekeeper in the country to pollinate the almond crop. There are over 2 million hives that go to California for almond crop. And then once the almonds are done, they'll come back to Florida. They'll wait out in Florida until it's blueberry time, and they'll go up to Maine for blueberry season. Then they'll go to Massachusetts for apple season.
And cranberries.
And cranberries. They'll go to Wisconsin for cranberries. So they have these hives on tractor trailers. And they believe that this could be one of the things that's stressing out the bees, because bees just want to stay where they are. They don't want to be shipped all over the country. A worker bee in the summertime will last only 4 weeks. 4 weeks, because why? Well, they're women and they work themselves to death. So they think that one of the causes, you know, when the commercial beekeepers, now we need commercial beekeepers to pollinate the crops. A bee touches 1/3 of every piece of food that you eat. So it's kind of a catch-22. Do you stop sending bees all over the country? Well, if you do that, then you don't have food. So it's kind of a catch-22 on how, you know, we figure out what's going on with colony collapse disorder. And what happens is the bees just go. No dead bodies, nothing in the hive, one or two bees in the hive, and the hive is empty. You know, and the bees just disappear. They can't find bodies. And this actually started in the year 2006 over in California for the almond crop. And the beekeepers would come back, they open their hive and there's nothing there. Hive after hive after hive. And you're talking thousands and thousands of bees this was happening to, hives. So that was very, very curious to researchers. So there's a lot of research money being spent on bees at this time. A lot of universities are spending money on bee diseases. Okay, you're up, kiddo.
One of the, yeah.
We're all done with
Fun facts.
fun facts.
We're passing around right now just some samples of some soap that are made from bees' wax and honey. So you can take a look at those. They'll be coming around while they go through the fun facts.
Here's something you didn't know. Honeybees have 2 dances in order to communicate. There is what's called a waggle dance, which is kind of like a, was it zigzaggy?
Yes, figure 8.
Figure 8. And then there's the round dance for food near the hive, which is when they go in a complete circle.
Okay.
1 gallon of honey, believe it or not, weighs 11 pounds. And bees must visit 2 million flowers to produce 1 pound of honey.
This is 1 pound of honey.
That's 1 pound.
So a hive, to produce 1 pound of this, they have to visit 2 million flowers to produce 1 pound of honey.
How long does that take to produce that much?
In June and in the end of August, there's usually a honey flow on. So you can open up the hive. We usually do it a week at a time. And, you know, you can open up the hive on Saturday and there's not much going on. The next week, they almost have a whole super full. So, you know, it just depends on how fast they're out there, they're moving around. In the summertime, they have more forages out. The hive is bigger in the summertime than it is in the wintertime. What's another fun fact for us? Honeybees are deaf. Did anybody know that? There's plenty of research going on, and that's one of the facts I know about.
I didn't know that.
There you go.
I had no idea.
That's actually about the end of our presentation. Does anybody have any questions? Mr. Green, do you have a question for us?
How far do they travel from the hive to gather?
They travel up to 5 miles to gather honey. So you might have some of the green bees over here, foraging for honey over here. Up to 5 miles, 5-mile radius of their hive. Yes, go ahead.
By sending them like to California, then to Florida, or
Yep.
can they carry like a disease or?
Of course.
They could.
Of course they could. They can pick up diseases when they're out in a different part of the world, and then bring it back to their hive. And that's something that we're worried about here in Massachusetts also. I'm a hobbyist beekeeper, so I don't move my hives anywhere. But if I do have a farm that's not far from my house, so if they were to bring in any commercial bees, put it on their property to pollinate their blueberries, and then leave a month later, some of their bees could actually interact with my hive and then cause my hive to have American foul brood, European foul brood, wax moths are a problem for hives, mites, we've talked about mites.
Hive beetles are really bad.
Hive beetles get into the hive, and also critters, mice, like to go into a hive, and they'll go inside the bottom, and they'll go up into the hive when it's nice and warm. Now, the bees aren't protecting their hive right now because they're in the cluster, but if you don't have a mouse guard on, the mouse will go in there and eat wax and stuff like that, you know, get a nice dinner, and could cause problems in your hive. Any other questions?
What's the funnel shape?
This right here?
Yes.
This is a smoker. Anytime a beekeeper goes into a hive, we will smoke the hive. So she has some straw in here. We'll light it up. We don't want flame coming out at them. We'll give them a couple of puffs. We want smoke coming out. When you smoke the hive, that causes the bees to think that there's a forest fire. So they go inside, and they'll leave the top of the hive, and that makes it easier for a beekeeper to work. They'll go inside and eat honey because there's danger coming. They think they have to abscond from their hive. So, anybody else?
We do have for everybody today, we have a sheet that has recipes for healing with honey. We have honey samples, and then we have samples of soap made with honey and wax for everybody to take with them. So that provided by our guests.
We want to thank Amber Green very much and Susan Robinson for being with us and sharing in our meeting today.
Thank you. Thank you for giving us some time.
Yeah.